All right, folks. Happy Friday, I guess, and welcome to Preparing for Prosperity. I'm AJ Harrison. Um, Happy belated Thanksgiving to anybody who didn't catch my pre-Thanksgiving podcast. Hope it was a good one for you. It was pretty calm and slow around our place. So today we're going to talk. Excuse me. Today we're going to talk tiny house, which is where I'm at, and the perpetual project that it is. But first, I want to kind of chit chat about what happened the last couple days and the things that we've got going on. So, yesterday was Thanksgiving. We have four boys, and well, apparently that didn't go on. There we go. Do not disturb on the phone so that I don't get a bunch of notifications while we're doing this. So we have four boys. The oldest is mine. The next two are my wife's, both from previous marriages. And then we have our youngest, who is ours. So we have a yours, mine, and ours situation. And the way that the custody and living arrangements work is my son is with us week on, week off. So 7 days on, 7 days off. And then holidays alternate depending on what year it is and what the holiday is type deal. My stepsons are with us the vast majority of the time. And then they go away for 6 weeks in the summertime and either 4 days for Thanksgiving or the week of Christmas. And then from there, they get a week in spring break that they go to their dads as well. Otherwise, they're with us full time. So it's kind of, it's less than 50% of the year we actually have all the boys together. And so we got everything lined up to where we have all the kids for Thanksgiving, or we have all the kids for Christmas. We don't have one set of kids for one holiday and the other for another. And it makes it a lot more pleasant. That being said, it makes the holiday that we don't have a lot of the kids a little dreary and not as fun. And so in the past, what we've done is on Thanksgivings that we don't have the boys, we've actually driven them to see their dad, and just stayed where they were for the 4 days, and then drive back because it's 13 hours one way. So you can either meet in the middle, or you can go back and forth type deal. And either way, it's a lot of driving, a lot of excess. And my wife had some friends that lived in the same town, ish as her ex-husband. So we typically just hung out with them on holidays. Um, that is not the case anymore. Now we fly the boys unaccompanied minor. And the holidays that we don't have the boys, it's just the three of us. And um, in the past, I've not really done big hooplas on those days just because it's kind of hard to be in the holiday spirit, in the holiday mood. And plus, when there's two adults and a very young child, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do the whole Thanksgiving dinner. This year, I said, screw that. And we're going to do the whole Thanksgiving feast for just the three of us. And we'll have a bunch of leftovers. And that will turn into freeze dryer topics and freeze dryer runs, as well as leftovers and freezer meals and all sorts of things. And so that was the plan. Now, I'm struggling really bad with my asthma today, and I'm going to try to not hit the inhaler a bunch of times, but I'm going to be coughing quite a bit. And I apologize if that bugs anybody, but it kind of is what it is. And if I don't do it right now because of fear of coughing or because of continued coughing, it's not going to get done. And I would rather produce a content that's not as great or has some varying issues in it, than not produce it at all. So I'm just going to keep rolling. I appreciate you folks bearing with me, and back to the content after I take a drink. So, so this year I decided we're just going to do the whole gambit. We had a 17-pound turkey in the freezer already that was gifted to us. So that's a fantastic start. I took that out a little bit late. And so I did the whole defrost it in basically, I put it in a 20-quart pot with ice cold water, as cold as the water was coming out of the tap, which was about 52 degrees, and just let the water trickle through to thaw it. And then made sure that it was at safe temperature the whole time with digital thermometers, followed everything right. And I went to cut the turkey open yesterday, um, and it was rancid. I mean, it was beyond bad. Sarah, who can't even smell anything, could smell it from about 10, 15 feet away. And it was not good. So now we don't have a turkey for Thanksgiving. And it was weird because the package wasn't even, they typically that plastic will start to swell. Not the case at all. So now it's 11:30 on Thanksgiving. We don't have turkey. The rolls are already baked. Everything's kind of planned for how it's going to go into motion. Thanksgiving screwed. Well, I decided I wasn't going to let that happen. And no, we were no longer going to eat at 4 o'clock in the afternoon as we originally had planned on, which is okay. So I went to the freezer, grabbed out 2 of the Hooterite chickens that we had sitting in there, 5-ish pounds a piece, and proceeded to thaw them in the same way that I thawed the turkey. But because they're 5 pounds instead of 17 pounds, and I was cooking them immediately, I used a little bit warmer water and was able to thaw them. They went in the smoker at 5:30, and we ate dinner at 7:30, 8 o'clock last night. And because of the whole rigmarole of that, we just did some butternut squash that we grew in the garden. It was sitting in the garage, and at church there had been some folks that had brought a bunch of swamp stuff, and one of the last ones when folks were it's still sitting, it's gonna go rotten and activity issues. So hopefully that's not the case. But if I see that continue again, I'm going to go ahead and cut the live stream and finish podcast only. So that when folks bring stuff to the church and it's perishable, like squashes, zucchinis, tomatoes, that kind of stuff, when we're some of the last ones to go, it's kind of like, well, who's taking what, or is anybody taking this? And hopefully it doesn't go bad for next week. And so we acquired some spaghetti squash that way, because we didn't grow any spaghetti squash this year, because I didn't start any spaghetti squash seeds, even though I thought I had. So we'd had some in the garage that were on the shelf from the church. And right next to that just kind of appeared some, wow. Yep. Butternut squash. Yeah. The orange ones, the ones that you make soup and stuff out of. So we had some of those sitting on the shelf out there, and I thought they came from the church, but they didn't come from the church. They came from our garden. So hold on just a second. My nose is a little runny. So, so we had butternut squash from our own garden. Woohoo. Homegrown Thanksgiving. So we had sourdough rolls that my wife made. We had some not zucchini squash. We had butternut squash. We had our smoked chickens that I did not do a good job on these. I was very, very unmotivated. And so it was like some bourbon barbecue seasoning I threw on the top, and I threw an orange on the inside. And I was not super impressed. It was edible. My wife, whose nose is plugged and whose taste buds are off, didn't care. And Alexander just ate the chicken, and he liked the cranberry sauce. Does not like the butternut squash, but that's okay. And I just cut the butternut squash in half, peeled the seeds, a little bit of avocado oil, and then some salt and pepper on there, and in the oven at 400 to bake. And then peeled all that out, mashed it up with some butter and brown sugar, a little bit of brown sugar, not too much. And that was what we had. So it worked, but it sucked. It really sucked knowing that the day was going to be a little bit of a bummer anyway, not having all the kids. And then compound it with this turkey that I had planned on cooking and had everything all figured out for, um, was was not any good. Um, so that sucks. Now it's Black Friday today, and Costco has in the past. Ooh, we're having major connectivity issues. Costco in the past has had um, a. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and kill the video and just do audio only if I can. Maybe I can't do that. I can't go to audio only, so we're just going to continue. Um, Costco in the past, I'm talking pre-COVID, used to do a deal where their turkeys basically were $15 off, and they came out to about 25 cents a pound on Black Friday, just to clear all that turkey out, make room for just life in general. And the next thing, they didn't want to have a bunch of turkeys sitting there. This then that hasn't been the case the last couple years, at least at ours. This year they had the Butterball fresh turkeys that were in the 11 to 13 pound range, $5 off, and they were 99 cents a pound. So, you're talking $6, $7 for a 11, 12 pound turkey. I bought 4 of them today. We are going to have Thanksgiving 2.0 on Sunday after church, and my 2 boys will be back from their dads on Sunday. So there will be 3 of them. My older son won't be back yet, but that's okay. But we're going to have a big Sunday lunch, or, probably do it at 2:30 or so, with all the fixins. And it will be Thanksgiving, and it will be grand and grandiose and fantastic. And we will have leftovers. And I bought 4 of those turkeys today. So the plan is to cook 2 on Thursday, or 2 on Sunday. And then I've got 2 in the oven right now, and I'm roasting those in a fairly traditional way. I did the butter and Lowry's injection on them, and they are in and cooking at 350 with no top on them. They're in a 4-inch hotel pan because we have those. I like them. They work well. They're in the same one. And so those will be done, and we're going to do some pre-made vacuum packed meals. And I'm also going to be doing some turkey content for the freeze dryer with those birds. So super fun, super excited. That'll be awesome. Now, I would tell you that we're going to talk about that next Wednesday and the results of that on our freeze dryer show. But next Wednesday, we are going to be on with Nicole Sauce from Living Free in Tennessee on her podcast, talking about propane and all things propane, because that's what I decided I wanted to talk about when I filled out her guest form. And so that will be at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, 1 o'clock for us in Montana, noon in the Pacific. And I say that so that my mom remembers, because she's in the Pacific. Hi, Mom. Love you. Anyway, so we're going to be on that show next Wednesday. That's the date that she had available. So there will be 3 live streams next week. So Monday we'll have our regular catch up. Wednesday we will be on with Nicole, and that will be our podcast as well. And then I don't know what time that will get published as far as the podcast goes. I'm still very new to all this stuff, and luckily I figured out how to pull the audio off of StreamYard to do the regular podcast. So that's fantastic. I don't know how it's going to be to pull the audio off of the live stream that I do with her and how that will all go, but I'm sure she will help me if I have any questions. So 2 p.m. Central Standard Time next week, Living Free in Tennessee with Nicole Sauce. Hashtag Holler Roast Coffee. It's fantastic. I'm not drinking it right now, but that's what we've been drinking, and it is fantastic. So moving on from there, we are now in the cold time of the year. Somehow we don't have any snow yet, which I'm so grateful for, because I still have a lot of work to do outside, and I'm not anywhere near ready for it. I'm struggling a lot with motivation, ambition, and just general, like, not strength, but just the ability to do things and carry on. Since I've been sick, my lungs haven't really recovered. I'm going to try some new asthma medication, and see if that helps anything. But so we've noticed that our chickens are molting, the older ones anyway, and our feed consumption is up because it's cold, and our egg production is almost non-existent. And so this morning, when I got up and got going, I started the sunflower seed soak process, and we're going to start doing sprouted sunflower seed fodder for the chickens. Super high in protein, has a lot of the stuff that they are craving for and needing, but it's also incredibly cheap. Like $36 for a 50-pound bag of black oil sunflower seed. Literally take a couple cups of it, soak it in water, drain it off after 24 hours, and then just kind of keep it damp while it sprouts. Dump it out. They go crazy for it. It's fantastic. So we started that this morning. And then it was funny because right about the time that I got done with that, another podcast that I was listening to, they were talking about how they're getting going on implementing that for the fall as well. So kind of funny how that, kind of hive mind situation starts working. So we'll do that. And then I've also, we've started buying our feed. It's non-soy, no corn, non-GMO. We're doing no soy because there's just soy in so much stuff, and that soy actually passes through the animal to the eggs. So if we can limit that, then fantastic. We're doing no corn because corn really affects my asthma. It causes inflammation in my airway passages. One of my kind of allergies that's not an allergy. And then non-GMO because, well, I'd rather have non-GMO. I'd rather have something that's, better quality. So that's what we feed. Well, we can get it either pelletized or we can get in a flake. And today I'm starting with the process of doing the fermentation on the on just the ground non-pelletized, and we're going to see what that does. Now it's going to be a couple days on the sunflower seeds, and the results will be skewed just for the simple reason that we're doing two things at once. I don't really care what makes the difference as long as something makes the difference, because when we're feeding 18 birds and getting 0 eggs, that sucks. That's a lot of money in feed. It's a lot of stuff to do to not get anything. But that's why you should have a freeze dryer and freeze dry your raw eggs and put them away so that you have eggs, to take from your glut and use that glut, those eggs that come out in the glut when you're, when your production is low. That's part of preservation, self-reliance, sustainable living, is taking from the glut, using when you're lean. So we've got plenty of eggs right now, but I don't want to be feeding animals that aren't producing. That sucks. Now, this tiny house that's behind me, I'm actually sitting in the living room. And this is grandma's house. And this is called grandma's house because my grandma, who is 79 years old, is hopefully going to be moving into this house sometime around Christmas. And grandma lives alone in Missoula in a 2-bedroom apartment and is often lonely, is diabetic, and doesn't always do the best controlling that. Loves to garden, loves to be outside, and loves to cook, but being almost 80 and diabetic, doesn't get to cook as much as she wants to. So we are very much firm believers in generational thinking. And so we decided when we sold our catering building, we still own the company, but we sold the building in 2021, that we were going to build grandma a tiny house. So this has been about a 2-year project. And I can't believe it's been a 2-year project, but it's been a 2-year project. And a lot of that is because the propane job didn't allow me any time to work on it last fall or the spring. So it is 14 and a half by 28 feet long is the living area. We're in the living room right now. This is her TV wall right here behind me. We have over here windows. There are 6 windows plus a half light in the door in the living room, and so it is very bright, tons of natural light, and it actually faces north. So if it was south facing, so much more light. But on the front of that, you walk out the front door, and there's a 14.5 foot by 10 foot deep covered patio, and it will have tongue and groove ceiling, recessed lights, a spot for a fan. I'm gonna make it to where we can put in some bug screen as well. So our summers are very mosquito-y typically, and so being outside is not as fun. But if I build her screen and patio, it's a pretty big place. We can all hang out there. So um, then as you go, if you're on the video, you're seeing me tilt the screen right here. Boom. There's a window right there. That is her kitchen sink. And so the way it lines out is the window's not her kitchen sink. That window's above where her kitchen sink goes. So she has a galley kitchen that is 10 feet long, and she will have a apartment size fridge, a smaller sink, not super small, but a smaller sink, as well as a 24-inch oven, like an off-grid cabin type oven that's propane, that has 4 propane burners on the top. So she'll have her own little mini kitchen here with some storage. And then I've also got her an air fryer, toaster oven, multi-use thing that takes a quarter size sheet pan, for her to bake cookies and do whatever. And she'll have not a ton of storage, but she'll have plenty of storage to do the things. Behind me on the other side of this wall is her bedroom. It's 10 by 7.5. I believe it's 10 by 7.5. It might be 10 by 7. It's big enough for a queen size bed to be pushed in the corner, kind of kitty corner to the bed, or kitty corner to her bedroom door, with a couple feet on either side, so that she's got a 2 foot wide, 7 foot tall armoire thing, for clothes and stuff. And then there's the biggest window in the house actually is in her bedroom. And it's like 5.5 feet tall and 32 inches wide. And it's that size because it was an extra window that I had, from said building that we sold, that was there when we bought it. And I wasn't going to leave it because I replaced all the windows in that. So there was no purpose for it there at that building. And so I kept it because we're always doing projects and you never know when you're going to want to barter or anything like that. So that's her bedroom. Attached to that bedroom is a 5 by 5 walk-in closet. Now, AJ, that's not a very big closet. Well, this is one little old lady. She doesn't need a huge closet. She doesn't have a huge closet as it is. And really, how many clothes does a little old lady need? Even in Montana where it's cold and hot and all the things, she will have plenty of storage. In that walk-in closet, there is a 4.3 cubic foot LG washer and dryer combination that is ventless. And so one that will introduce some heat into her closet area, making it that back corner of the house easier to heat, but it will also allow her to do her laundry in her closet so that she can go in there and change and throw stuff right in the laundry machine, and be on her merry way. And when the laundry's done, all she has to do is pull it out and it's right there where it needs to go. So she's not having to walk a bunch of steps carrying stuff. She's very much mentally capable, aware. There is no reason for her to be moving here on site, on property, other than the fact that we want her here. And I'm tired of her being where she's at. And her rent's stupid expensive. And but she could competently live in another state and be just fine. So there's no issues there. That being said, the tiny house is literally 16 feet away from my garage. And it is 32 feet from her front door to the door to go in the house, where there's a full kitchen, where there's, we, our little house is now the big house. It's the manor house of the estate. And so, but I don't want her to have to walk and haul and all that kind of stuff. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me. So we're going that route with that washer dryer. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to be doing some reviews and some walkthroughs on that, because a lot of places are use this type of stuff. It's not super common in the States, but this is the exact unit that you would put like in an RV, if you were going to live full time in an RV, something like this. So there's that. Now, at the end of this hallway right here, is a full bathroom, and that full bathroom is 5 feet deep and it is 8 feet wide. There is a 3-inch step to get up into a shower. That shower will be tile, with blocking in the back for hand guards, should we ever need to put them in, as well as around the toilet, so that everything can be ADA accessible. Now, they're not 36-inch doors because they wouldn't fit. They're 32-inch. We're again not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. So she's a little old lady. She's not the smallest little old lady you ever met, but she's definitely not. I can pick her up and move her by myself. So I'm not too worried about having to get big, strong guys in there to move her or anything like that. I just want her to be able to grow old in this place. Now, as far as growing old goes, the it's right about 2.5 feet from the ground level to the deck in there, and it's a couple steps. There's room to put a ramp on the side of the house if we have to, um, but I'm not super worried about those couple steps. We'll figure that out. But everything is set up to where she can just kind of grow old and age out and live here as long as she wants to. Um, because I feel like that's where elders should be. Unless there's something that you absolutely cannot do and take care of on your own, or in-home care just becomes too expensive or unattainable or whatever. I mean, I'm not poo-pooing people that don't have their family, their elderly family age out at home. Everybody's in their own situation, so don't come at me for that. Maybe you should comment on this video and tell me what an asshole I am for thinking that. And then we'll get some interaction on the YouTube page. So that's up to you. But she'll have a tile shower. She'll have a comfort height toilet, because anybody that puts a standard height toilet in is an idiot. You're stupid. There we go. We're causing chaos and animosity again. But for the small price difference, for that comfort height, and if you don't know what that is, they used to call that like the handicap height. And those toilets are approximately 1.5 inches taller than a standard toilet that you would install. And they're just more comfortable. They're more ergonomic, especially for a tall guy, a big guy. But for older folks, they have less distance to go down and back up. So it makes everything so much easier. So she's got a comfort height elongated bowl toilet. That's the oval, not the round one. Round toilets are stupid. They're uncomfortable, especially when they're regular height. I'm going on some tangents here today, and I got to rein it in. So gotta make a note here real quick. So she'll have a full vanity. Now the house is wired for a 12K mini split for heating and cooling. There are also on this wall here, actually you can see that box right there. And then on the exact opposite side of that wall is another one. And then in the bathroom are electric heaters. The two on the walls have the little blowers. The one in her bathroom is like a baseboard. So there's electric heat. And then we're also putting in a propane little like fake fireplace, vented out to outside unit in the corner right here, actually. Whoa, there we go. There's my finger. Right here in this corner of the TV wall. A little bit of ambiance, but also backup, if the power's down, stuff like that, that's pretty easy to hook up. Now, just like I have my house wired, this is wired for a 30 amp generator plug should the power ever go out. Excuse me. It is not on solar. It is not off grid. This is not the tiny house that a lot of preppers or folks are going to be building. This is a small house for grandma to live in. And it's very much built like a mobile home, because that's what it's on, is on a mobile home frame. It's on a modular home frame that the difference between a mobile home and a modular home is the modular home is actually picked up off the frame. It's built and designed to be taken off of that frame and put on a permanent foundation when it gets to where it's going. Where a mobile home is actually going to stay on that frame the entire lifespan. And so um, the modular home frames, they're reusable, but it costs a lot to ship them back. And so a lot of times the mobile home lot has almost as much into the cost of shipping the frame back as they're going to receive for their return credit. So they don't typically worry about it. And when I was talking about building a very big shed to house conversion for grandma, even though I wasn't going to buy a shed and convert it, I was going to build it. A friend of mine that I've worked for in the past that sets mobile homes for a living recommended the modular home frame. And so that's what this is on, which means it's very easy to move to the next place. Um, and it's got a lot more structure to it. It's 2x6 floors and walls on 16-inch centers with rock wool insulation. It is very warm. I can see my breath right now, but I haven't been heating it overnight because I wasn't out here yesterday. I knew I wasn't going to be. And I knew that I had some stuff to do this morning. So there's not any sense in heating something that you're not going to be in, especially when the ceiling isn't insulated yet. That will get a cellulose insulation blown in. And we'll be looking at anywhere from, it's a peaked roof. So we'll be looking at like an R14 or something on the very edge, all the way up to an R30 in the center, kind of in a dome shape. But we're going to put as much insulation up there as possible. Should be able to pretty well heat this thing with a couple candles in all reality. And that's what I want. I don't want grandma to be cold. I want grandma to be warm. I tell my kids all the time, just go put a sweatshirt on. I think it's a little bit more comfortable to run around in a sweatshirt if you're a little chilled than to have to be the big guy, me, and dying of heat because it's 73 in the house and you're just uncomfortable. So I don't keep it frigid. Typically keep the house 68, 69-ish, and then run the wood stove too. But for the most part, if you're cold, throw a hoodie on. I want grandma to be able to walk around in shorts if she wants to. I want her to be comfortable. She is an amazing woman, and she has done what she can to provide for my family her entire life. And so being home and being on her own, I just want her to enjoy however many days she has. And mind you, we're probably talking another 10 or 15 years left. We're not talking end of life living right now. We're talking, getting back and increasing, increasing lifestyle, making our life and her life better. And we're doing a kitchen garden. I bought some raised beds. Spearco had some raised beds that were a deal of the day for the Survival Podcast T-Spaz page a couple months ago, and we bought 4 of them. And super excited to get going with that. And grandma loves to garden. Grandma loves to can. Grandma loves to cook. Grandma loves to do all these things that Sarah wants to learn how to do. And I know how to do them, but oftentimes with things, it's best if the husband doesn't teach the wife. And it's things that grandma enjoys that Sarah enjoys that, I'm hoping that they can kind of take over the canning and that aspect of things, and I can do other things, even though I enjoy them. And that's what the big house is for. That's why I'm not getting carried away with a big kitchen in this thing. I want this to be very multi-use. And if grandma decides that she doesn't like it here, she wants to move back into an apartment. She eventually moves to my dad's house in the mother-in-law suite, something like that. She's not stuck here by any means. And I want this place to be kind of versatile after the fact. And this would actually be a fairly decent spot for the older 2 boys to have as like their bachelor pad after they graduate high school, and kind of go from there. So I don't want to keep anybody here, but I want everybody to know that they're invited. And I have friends that have the extended family that always get together. And my wife's family is this way. They live close together. A lot of them live at any given time under the same roof, in a multiplex situation. And my wife actually lived there when she was in Massachusetts, and it's fantastic. Kind of get on my nerves a little bit, being around people all the time. but I long for that. And my family's not super huge into that. And I want to change that. I want to make this kind of like the bifurcation mark of the old and the new. And, especially with like divorce and relationship problems and family problems and all that kind of stuff. I want to make that the change going forward for the Harrison family. Um, or as I like to call it, the Harrison clan, because I don't know. Um, so that's what we're pushing for. That's what we're looking for. We wanted to keep it modular and multifaceted, as well as if we do end up being able to move into a different piece of property sometime, it's pretty easy to bolt the hitch on, jack the thing up, put tires on it, truck it down the road, set it up where it needs to go. There'll be a little bit of fixing here and there to do, especially with drywall patch crack type stuff, but definitely easy to do. Um, Now, for utilities, like I said, this is not off grid. There's a 100 amp service coming off of the main house to feed a RV plug, an RV pedestal, basically, um, at the backside of the house. And then I've put in a RV drop, as far as for RV waste. So basically, anybody that ever bought this place after the tiny house is gone could park an RV here and have it set up that somebody could either live in it, or they could dump the waste into the septic, or kind of do whatever. So there's water and there's septic hooked up. There's power. There's also a low voltage data cable coming out here. So it's very much an on grid situation. If I were to build this differently, I would totally add a few feet to the back, reconfigure a couple things, and put a utility room that had battery storage and stuff like that for solar. Um, do some different stuff with ceiling heights, because I designed this for grandma. It's 9 foot ceilings, 104 and 5/8 studs, 54-inch sheetrock. It's tall ceilings. I wanted it to feel nice and big. I very easily could have made these walls behind me 7 feet, made the walls a little bit taller, and added, um, I don't even know what, like attic space type things, for extra room beds and stuff like that. Wasn't the plan for this place. Grandma doesn't need to go up and down stairs. She needs to have an enjoyable life. And so that's why we did this one this way. Um, but anyway, that is that with the tiny house for now. Um, we are at 37. Ooh, we're pushing 40 minutes right now. And I want to try to keep these a little bit shorter than that. Um, so it's Friday. Happy weekend. Enjoy the family time. If you've got it, try to get something done. Do hashtag do the things, get them done. Website changes are coming. There is a website up right now at preparingforprosperity.com. It is basically not a website, but follow us on YouTube, search AJ Harrison and Preparing for Prosperity. The links for that show will be in the comments for the podcast as well. If you wouldn't mind hopping over there, give me a subscribe, give me a like. Really trying to grow this channel, and that's impossible for me to grow this without you guys. So if you have any comments, concerns, questions, have a topic you want me to talk about, leave a comment in the YouTube video. Shoot me an email, preparingforprosperity@proton.me. And with that, we'll see you guys next week. All right.